Okay, hey everyone. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. I'm confident that everybody's going to leave feeling a lot more relaxed than when they came in. I wanted to start by telling you all a little bit about the Mill, which is where you're at right now. So the Mill Workspace is an entrepreneurship center. Um, sorry, and we serve the 9 counties in Northwest Tennessee. So our mission is to help businesses start and grow in Northwest Tennessee. And we do that through one-on-one business consulting. We have this co-working space that people can come in and use our facilities. We do educational workshops like this one, and we have multi-week cohort programs to teach professionals about all kind of different things. So I'm the PR. My name's Kadince, by the way. I'm the PR intern this summer, and I've learned so much through Chris and Rachel. Um, so I'm a student at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, and in December, I'll graduate with a degree in public relations. And I'm nervous, but I'm so excited, and I can genuinely say that I'm way less nervous than I was at the beginning of the summer because I actually feel prepared for the world now, which is great. And so I've gotten a lot of hands-on experience with everything from content creation to video editing, social media posting, writing press releases, and planning events like this. What I didn't expect to learn were the things that nobody really meant to teach me. Things like the power of community and how much small actions can mean in a small town. Before I move on, I want to thank Chris and Rachel for trusting me with this event. They gave me the independence to make it my own, but also the support I needed when I had questions, which was a lot of questions, y'all. And so let's talk about the topic, which is managing stress and overwhelm in business. Out of all the things I could have picked, it seems kind of random, but I come from a family of small business owners. There's my mom right there that catered. If I have to be nervous, so does she. Um, and so while I'm not a small business owner, I've kind of experienced the stress firsthand. And so when I first went to plan this event, I just had small business owners in mind. Um, but then I realized that stress and burnout don't just impact one type of person. So tonight we've brought together professionals from all the different industries. We've got retail, food and beverage, service, nonprofit, and human resources. Okay, so let's start talking about the stuff y'all came to hear, and I'll quit rambling on. I'm going to turn it over to the panelists. Can y'all introduce yourselves and tell us your role and about the organization you work for?
Thank you, Cadence. You did wonderful.
Thanks.
And don't worry, I'm also nervous, so it's okay. My name is Stephania. I am the Stephania Wheeler, Northwest Director of Donor Development for United Way of West Tennessee, and make relationships in the community and try to inspire people to donate in every way they can to the community, and also find resources and share those resources for anybody that's looking for them. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stacy Cook, also nervous. I own and operate Off the Square boutiques. We have boutiques in Paris, Tennessee and Martin, Tennessee. So I'm the owner and the scheduler and the orderer and the marketer, and I'm pretty sure a few other things I haven't thought of, but
Yeah, you keep your mic. Hi, I'm Tim Johnson. I'm the owner of Green Frog Coffee and Grill. We've got one location right here in Dyer County. In Dyersburg, we've got two in Jackson, one in North Jackson, South Jackson, and then we have a licensed location in Middleton, which is south of Bolivar, almost in Mississippi. So like Stacy was saying, I'm the CEO, CFO, CCO, all the C's. I do have a sister who retired as a CPA who came to work for me after she retired, and she really is super helpful. So I'm by no means soloing. I've got some great help. We got some great employees, and I'm excited to share with you tonight.
Hello, I'm Ben Richardson. Born and raised here in Dyer County, Tennessee. I work with a company called Rough Country Suspensions. My friend Alan works there as well. Started there in 1999 as a part-time employee and went full-time in 2002, where I started in the shipping and packaging area, worked my way into a customer service role, and through various rungs on the ladder into the human resource and safety manager role. where we employ just a little under 600 people. Great company, great team that I work with, and we too try to do as much as we can in the community to support our schools and educational efforts, as well as in the sporting world, to try to develop those students with multiple skill sets. I'm excited to be here, and hopefully, I can give a lending hand somewhere.
And I'm Chris Donaldson. I'm the CEO. They make fun of me because I'm the CEO of the mill. There's three of us here. So I operate the Mill Workspace. We started the mill in 2018 as just a co-working space, and then a few years ago we got a grant, and so now, like Kadince said, we're serving all of Northwest Tennessee from Dyersburg, but we work with chambers and communities throughout the region. But I'm also I own and operate Tencom Services, which is in the building next door. We've been in business 24 years. We're an IT services company, so we're just basically an outsourced IT department for companies, cybersecurity, all that stuff. So anyway, I'm going to leave it to Kadince, but thank you guys for being here. And by the way, there's to-go boxes in the back, so please take as much food as you can. So it's for you guys. So
Thank y'all so much. So I thought we would start out with the more negative stuff and then build our way up to some solutions. So I would like all y'all to go around and tell us the most stressful part of your job. I think it'll make the audience feel a little more related to you.
Hi. All right. Well, for me, it's the sense of urgency for everything that's happening in our communities, finding resources and solutions for those situations, and the intensity of it. Trying to manage and mitigate, and you're covering multiple counties. But yeah, the sense of urgency that something needs to happen, and then trying to find those resources. That's probably the most stressful part.
So I'm going to say managing people while I have a really good team. We haven't always had the best team, but right now we have a team of 6, trying to have a team of 8, but we're really, really selective about our team. And also finding time to do bookkeeping because I don't have a sister that's a CPA.
Very, very much the same. Employees, realizing that they each have a life story, and we have a handbook, we have rules, we have standards, and then realizing you have to take into account their specific situation, because it may be that you don't realize they're going through something super more important than making coffee. So trying to balance that with being basically honoring them and taking care of them, and same time taking care of the business, balancing that. And then, of course, finances. In the restaurant industry, the last 5 years have been a roller coaster ride, and spent time at the bank begging my loan officer, and spent time on my knees begging God through prayer, but we've made it. But yeah, we've been through some rough waters financially over the past 5 years.
For me, the most stressful part is managing my own expectations. I have a pretty high bar that I want to see all of our team members succeed. I don't want to see anyone fail. I don't want to see anyone get hurt. I want everyone to go home just as healthy and happy as they came in. And it's stressful when you're not able to always accommodate that. That's probably the most stressful part for me. I too have those same things that we work through daily, but my own expectations are typically the largest stressor for me.
yeah, I think for me, it's we're an IT company, so it's really stressful. It's a very stressful job. So you think about it, it's kind of like the fire department. When somebody calls us, they're having a bad day, and so but I really expressed to my team, our values, which is service, empathy, integrity. Empathy being the the big one because everyone that's calling is having a problem. It's getting in the way of them doing their job. They might be losing thousands of dollars an hour because their computers are down, and so yeah, just managing service calls is the big stressor. So
I'm sorry y'all are stressed. As y'all can see, it's kind of the reality for most everybody that's involved in business in any way. What habits help you manage your stress? And how has this approach changed through the years?
Hmm. So earlier in my career, I'd say I would just power through it, put as much on my plate as possible. I mean, just keep going. And as I have adapted, I really value pacing myself and taking care of myself and taking a break from time to time. And when I do take those breaks, to make sure that it's an actual break. Um, um, but yeah, it wasn't sustainable to be powering through all the time and burning the candle at both ends. And now it's a little more organized and a little more strategic, including scheduling that downtime so that I can continue doing what I need to do. Um,
So when I first started, I actually bought a store that was already in business and I was working full time as a registered nurse. And so I did both jobs for a few months before I decided I could only do one full time job. But as a nurse, I always felt like I worked better under pressure. So while I do try to manage stress, um, it fuels me. It makes me do my job better. So I will say early on though, I just always would just kept doing something. I didn't really make a list. I just knew I had a million things to do, so I was just always working on one. And what I have learned, um, and I can't recall where I learned this, but when you think you're multitasking, you're really working at 40 or maybe 40% mistakes. Um, and so now I use my planner, like, I don't just carry it around, I actually write in it, and I try, like, every night before the next day to write the most important things I need to get done, and then on the other side, I write things that I'd like to get done, and I feel like I'm more productive because 'cause I'm more focused.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite question. They did give us these questions in advance, so if we seem prepared, we should be. But I didn't bring notes like this guy. He's really prepared. Yeah. Um, but I grew up on a farm, and we had fences, and fences were there to control animals, to keep things in, to keep things out. So I've learned in life to have fences. And one of my fences has been, for a large part of my life, to be closed on Sunday. It's a habit, it's a commitment, and it is literally a lifesaver. All of my businesses could be on fire, and I just have to make it through Saturday night because I know I'm going to get a break. If I was open every day of the week, 24/7, like some businesses are, I could never see that break coming. I just have to survive 6 days at a time. I love that. The other thing I'm committed to is sleep. I go to bed at 9 o'clock almost on a regular. I get up at 5. That's a good thing. Just most recently, in the past 2 months, I did something that's been a lifesaver. So my phone rings all the time. We've got 65 employees. We've got 4 locations. Um, so I sent out a message to my managers that I don't want to get a phone call, please, until 6 a.m. I don't want one after 9 p.m. So while I'm asleep, basically, I would appreciate the phone not ringing because I had a manager who is super, super eager. She's great. She has better numbers than anybody else, and she gets at the store early. She'll get there at 4:45. She would call me on her way to work and say, "Hey, when are those croissants coming in?" And I'm like, "Dude, can this not wait till 6?" So I had to put up a fence, and it has been a game changer because now I can sleep and I just know I've got a break after 9 o'clock at night. Well, if my phone rings after 9, I'm really going to be stressed because I told them only call me if somebody's dying or something's burning. So, go ahead.
He hit on mine. Prioritization has probably been the biggest thing that I've adapted. I had a really good instructor my sophomore year in college that taught us this ABCD, and I'm going to read this because I wrote it down because I didn't want to say it wrong. Um, so A is for absolute. That has to be done as soon as possible. And this is how I prioritize things in my planner. And Alan sees me carry this around as everywhere I go. B is before end of day. C, complete by the week's end, right? That's a low stress target that I need to hit. And then D is delegate. I'm going to push that task to someone else on our team or to another department head or another supervisor, or I'm going to push that to the accounting team. Payroll and HR work very close together. So prioritizing tasks on a daily basis is key for me. I'll also prioritize tasks for the next day at the end of this business day. That lets me kind of clear my mind before I leave home. And that way I've got a fresh start on the next day. I already have my A's, B's, and C's set out, right? So that takes stress out of the next business day for me once I get my prioritization set.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's changed for me is in the beginning. So I've been in business 24 years. In the beginning, I was like you. I just pushed through. Like I just sat behind the computer. I just did the things and just kept going. And I would work till 7 or 8. Then I go home and I get on the computer and I'd work till midnight. And so I've just learned through the years to just stop doing that because, and you see the signs, which I know we have other questions coming up, but that's the main thing for me is I stop pushing through. So it's, there's going to be another day. It'll be here tomorrow. So.
Yeah. Tim, when you were talking about fences, it reminded me a lot of boundaries. We have a question for that, but I'm just going to go ahead and skip to it. How do you set boundaries between your work and life? It's for anybody.
Yeah, start down there.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I silence my phone. That's a big one. Our phones have made it to where we're connected all the time to everything. Everything. Social media, our emails, WhatsApp, our family chats, everything. And being able to set my phone down on silent or, do not disturb. I have separate phone numbers for personal and business, just to keep things separate. And another boundary is if anybody tries to send business things to my personal, I tell them, please send it to my business email, please, and then those I answer between, a specific schedule. That way the waters don't get muddied. And then when I'm trying to have supper with my family, which sometimes it does get muddy, it's not the constant, notifications that you feel you have to answer right away.
So with boundaries, I'm still kind of working on that. But of course, I'm managing 2 stores. And so w- I guess the staff we have now, though, has been there for a while, but historically, they've been fairly new. So I pretty much am always holding my phone. Now it's always on silent, even during the day. But I know who's at the store. So if I look down and it's the person behind the register and it's before 6 p.m., I answer the phone because I know it's important. But if I do have something, if I'm going in a wedding, I go ahead and connect with both stores and I talk to them and I say, look, I'm going to be unavailable from this time to this time or whatever whatever I'm doing. Um, and I ask them to wait. Now they also know I'm in a class on Thursday mornings and now I'm also in a class on Wednesday mornings. So unless it's an emergency, they know, put it on pause, and let's talk about it around 11:30 or so. Um, but I think that's always gonna be a struggle because your business is part of you, and so it's so important, and you want your staff to feel valued, so you wanna answer that phone, but if I do have something important, I just try to make sure they know.
So before we got here, I had to do the same thing. I sent a message to all my management team saying how I'll be out of pocket from 5:30 to 7:30. I don't think we'll be here that long, and that really stresses me out, by the way, having to do this. No, I'm kidding.
I appreciate it.
I'm kidding. No, this is actually kind of fun. But w- for me, I could get bad news at any time. And here's a great example last night, and this is being super, super vulnerable because you're going to be like, oh boy. So last night at 9:15, we get a Google review. Got 4 locations, so I'm getting Google reviews all the time. This Google review was 1 star. Said cold food, saw small roach. Yeah. Which automatically I knew what it was. It's a cricket. We've got crickets at Java Cafe or Dyersburg Green Frog, and they come in the front door and we get spray and everything. It's a cricket. It's not a roach. So immediately I wanted to jump on, become defensive, but then I had to. We have a way to respond to Google reviews, and I followed my format in a very polite way and explained it's probably a cricket. Full refunds available. Call us. Yada yada. But then I'm wound up. Right before bedtime, blood's going, heart's pumping. But I was pretty proud of myself because I'm like, I've seen it before. It's not the end of the world. So for me, perspective and history helps me a lot, because what I used to interpret as the end of all things wasn't the end of all things. So I've experienced it and I realized we'll just move on. They had 15 5-star reviews in a row, and we just celebrated that at Green Frog Dyersburg. Now they have a 1, and we measure by the last 15. And so now we're trying to get rid of the 1. We got to have 14 more. So, but then just time management is a boundary for me. But the other thing is, I don't let employees, they can talk to me, but they can't call me unless they've talked to the store manager first. So we have a hierarchy of contact. So I'm only dealing with my management team via phone calls, emails. If an employee reaches out to me and they all have my phone number, then I know they've talked to the store manager or assistant store manager and have it come up with some type of resolution for the problem. So then I know it's a bigger issue. But then what I tell them is, well, let's 3 get together and talk. So I never talk to them about the store manager without the store manager present. So that's kind of my boundaries that I've created for us.
Boundaries, that's a tough one for me. In my role, I'm there to support the team. I may get a call at 3 a.m. I just have to know that they're calling because maybe they're in the ER and they're having an insurance problem. I want to be the support that everyone on our team needs when they need it. We run 3 shifts, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. So that means I'm active. I'm on call. I've got to be there to support, similar to what Chris was speaking to on his trouble calls, right? That's my role. And so it's very difficult for me to have a moment where I'm completely cut off. There are moments. I do have a team that I work with, and we rotate that responsibility. But ultimately, I feel like it's mine because I'm the manager of the human resources group. So that's a serious thing to me and a burden that I shoulder willingly. And I enjoy doing it because I want to be there for the team. I want to help them. And I've always had this thought, prior, I'm going to say my first 15 years of being an adult or a responsible adult working, I always said, I don't live to work. I work to live, right? That was my mantra. But as I've aged and matured, I think those lines are very blurry because we do live to work. The capacities are different in which we work. 7 to 5:36 every day. I'm in the office at one of our locations and I'm working. I'm working on projects. I'm working on reports, working on compliance issues, right? That's work. But when I leave the office, I'm living, but I want to support our team that needs what I can help with, what I can do for them. So I think living and working are the same thing if we approach it that way with the right perspective, that even though that call's coming during dinner, and it does happen, right? It happens. Or it comes at 3 a.m. because someone's cut themselves open and they want to know what they need to do next with this team member. That's okay, because they know they can call me to help them. And I want to be the person that they know they can call to help, because we do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. So the boundaries ones is tough for me in my role. But also because of and I don't we haven't shared this, but Chris and I are somewhat related by marriage. We're cousins-in-law. My father was a pastor, right? And he set that example for me growing up. You're there when people need you, because they're only reaching out because they need someone. They need some guidance. They need to be reassured. So for me, that's a tough line to set. Sundays are pretty good for me because we don't have anything operating on Sundays anymore. We did have a weekend crew, but we've pushed that away. So that's a tough question for me, but I do my best to manage it. My family understands it, and they support it. That's probably the biggest part.
Yeah.
I've got that support at home as well as at work.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll say this about Ben. Sometimes he has to stop playing Fortnite to go up to the plant and take care of some business. So it's usually midnight going to feed the third shift or something like that. So I've always been impressed with what Ben and Rough Country do for their people in the middle of the night. So that's pretty cool. For me, boundaries, phone's always on silent. It's ringing all the time. There's notifications going all the time. It has to be on silent all the time. So, and one thing that we do with the team is I have this strict policy. It's for security, but it's all for work-life balance too. So everyone I give, even though we're a small company, I give everyone a company phone, but they don't take the phone home. It's just for here at work and going out on service calls. So they lay their company phone down on the desk when they leave. And then if they're very rare circumstance, I might call them for something, which I just don't. I just strictly don't call my staff after hours, and they don't call me unless it's like you said, something's burning. So we just have a strict policy of no business and work life overlap, so that you can have a better life outside of work. So that's our biggest boundary there.
What's something a professional can do to start gaining control over their stress?
I had a professional coach last year, and it was one of the most wonderful things that it was an investment that our CEO made for us. And it was an absolute, godsend, really. She was amazing. If you've ever had a physical trainer or a nutritionist or a teacher or a music tutor or any kind of tutor, you know how much having a coach can really help improve, your self-awareness. What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? And that has been really like a power play. And aside from that, just continuing education and finding things that help continue improving. We have so many things that we have to manage on a regular basis. And when everything's an emergency, you don't know sometimes how to prioritize things. So yeah, having had access to that kind of coaching was extremely beneficial for me and for others in the staff.
So I'm going to say delegate. I think it's very important to find something on your list to delegate and get rid of. Get that off your list. That's something I'm really working on. I have to do it slowly because I don't want my staff to be overwhelmed. But as they gain control of one thing I give them, I'm giving something else to them. And also, I feel like small businesses are really bad about comparing themselves to others. And that is usually a very large source of stress. And this year I've stopped doing it. I've decided that I'm going to do what I do as well as I can do it. And I find in doing that, I lose a lot of stress. Plus, I'm a lot more individual, which has really increased our customer flow. And take a vacation. Take a vacation. And I got in the pool. I've been in the pool twice starting last week. So take some time, mark it on your calendar, and find that thing that works for you. Find that thing that brings you peace and calms you down. And for me, that's just getting in the pool, getting on a float, and looking at the trees.
I love that as a small business, ignoring your competition,
Yes.
because me and mom, I know I don't own this business with her, but we're pretty tight. And for a while there, it was hard because new restaurants were opening up near us and we're blatantly copying a lot of menu items and stuff. And it was tough, but we just kind of learned to just don't even pay attention to it. Whatever. We're going to do the same thing every day that the same restaurant has been doing for 50 years. And you can't pay attention to what everybody else is doing.
No, I will say when you, and we have that too. And I just smile and nod because everybody pays attention. You know as well as I do. You see the Facebook post. You know who had it first. You know when one store's getting everything and then the next store is doing the same thing. So I just smile and nod and I trust my customers and I just keep doing what I do.
So you've had a pool
I have a pool.
and you've been in it twice this year?
My husband said he was going to fill it in.
I was about to say that might be a way to get rid of stress, fill that pool in. if you're only going to use it twice a year.
I'm getting back in.
There you go. I would every day if I had one. For us, I think it was C.S. Lewis who said, "Comparison is a thief of joy." And that's important. What you just said is very, very important. Another thing that really I would say is get organized. So much of our stress is self-inflicted wounds. It's where we're not organized to the point where we're spinning our wheels or making mistakes that are unnecessary because we didn't know where something was or we weren't prepared for it like we should have been. So getting organized, and what's helped me get organized is the Mill. And we just did a testimonial. What was it, Wednesday? No, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you look into the camera?
Yeah. Look straight to the camera. But last year we went through a business accelerator, and this year we're going through Roadmap to Success, which are programs provided by the Mill for entrepreneurs, business owners that are basically almost free, practically free. And yeah, they do require a commitment of time, but the community that has been gained from it has been super valuable because it's some accountability that I personally needed to kind of get more organized and get my ducks in a row. And what it really helped me do, and this is the main thing I want to say, is one of my business coaches that was over 120 something Popeyes in the Southeast helped me on my P&Ls. I've been doing P&Ls for a while. Says, I don't see anything that says uncontrollable or controllable expenses. You've got all your expenses just as expenses. She said, come up with what's controllable and what's uncontrollable. So my managers would know what they have impact over and what they don't. And then I realized there are things that we don't control. And that reality really hit me hard and was very helpful to relieve some stress because a lot of the things we stress over, we don't control. And if you don't control it, why stress over it? Because you can't do anything about it. So just let it go and just do the best you can do. But don't waste your life or your breath worrying about things that you do not control.
That's a great one. Control the controllables. I've been given that through sports all my life. There's some things you can control, some things you can't. And you can have a great at bat and still get out. That's a great one. For me, something that to gain control over stress, again, prioritization. We all try to tackle it the same way. I think in the beginning, you want to do everything and anything you can for everyone that you're attached to. And what happens is both parties feel neglected. And like Tim was saying, you fail at a lot of things because you didn't schedule, you didn't prioritize, you didn't organize your day and your time. Time is our most valuable resource, right? How you spend it is going to determine the outcome of your life. You spend it on good things, you typically get good results. Spend it on bad things, you get bad results. So if you prioritize and organize your time and spend it effectively, wisely, and efficiently, the outcomes will reflect that, and your stress levels will reduce.
I think you might have said something on this subject, but for me, after 24 years in business, I've seen it all. Everything that can happen, every bad problem, every bad thing that can happen has happened to us. And so that's when I started the mill. I'm like, well, I just teach people how to just teach people about all the mistakes I've made. And so it's just, I could write a book on it because I didn't have any much help. But for me, a lot of the stress as a manager or business owner is because somebody wasn't empowered to do something, so they had to come to you. Because, your job as a CEO or the executive of a company is to deal with all the problems. Well, you can manage your stress by creating processes and delegating, as much as you can. So and this is this is like a lofty goal, not something that I'm good at. But it's, every time there's a problem in our company, whether it's technical or just a business thing, if it's something we can write a process for and put in our database, then we do. Whatever it is. And as people are coming to me with problems, I'm like, well, obviously that's something we didn't have a process for. They didn't know how to do it. So let's see, can I make a process for that and delegate it? So that's a big thing for me. We're very process oriented, and Tim, he could probably, or both of y'all could testify to. We've talked a lot about process and the roadmap to success, but the other thing for me is, I don't know what my diagnosis is, but I have a real limited social battery. So even though I guess what do you call it, an extroverted introvert or something like that. So I do a lead man. I do a lot in the public, and I used to be incredibly shy and couldn't talk to anybody, and now I can, but it's just my battery runs out, and so the way I have to do it is I just have to step back, and Rachel can probably tell you this. Would you say it? You can just see it in my eyes when I'm done, and I'm just sitting there staring into space, and so I just got to go check out, recharge. I got to get completely away from everybody. But the other thing is like, and then then when all that fails, I just forget, man, I've got to pray about this. Like this business, we don't advertise, we don't, everything we get, I believe, comes from the Lord. And so, man, I just got to say, hey, please take this. I am an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing. I need some help. I just take it. And that's usually really lifts the stress off of me at that point. So, anyway.
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk again about how I'm not a business owner, but I'm a business owner's oldest daughter. And so, through that, I've seen a lot. I feel like the most stressed mom gets at the restaurants is from managing the team while under such high stress, especially at the restaurants. You'll have every table full, and then your best employee starts arguing with another employee, and you're like, "What? Why is this happening?" So, what is your advice into oh no, I lost it. Into managing a team under high stress?
Oh, well, I like to use a lot of sense of humor. Usually, if we can laugh a little bit, it just eases the stress. Um, we have so many different personality types, so identifying those and knowing, how to navigate. Some of us are introverts, even though we present as extroverts. Um, and that gets confusing. But then when we are genuine with each other, when we have these conversations and then sprinkle the humor, it really helps just being a cohesive team and being able to lean on each other. We know that we all have our ups and downs, and, we keep chugging along. Sometimes the train is on fire, but, we just lean on each other and try to get a laugh in from time to time.
So I have a no mean girl rule. We talk about it during every single job interview. Everyone I interview, I tell them we don't do mean girls. We don't have mean girls. And there's also the onboarding process. We also talk about that again. I let everybody know we don't do mean girl. But also I will say that in hiring our staff, I try to find staff that seems that they will get along together. And we call them off the square girls. They're like a bunch of little sisters, you know. Every now and then the sisters want to kind of step on each other's toes, and I try to just remind them that unless you want to do all of this yourself, then we might need to learn how to talk to your teammates and help them learn to do it the way we, just work together. We just do teamwork. And I also try to understand that we're working with humans and everybody has a bad day. Sometimes you have to think about what this person's going through. I had a staff member with a significant other who was going through something, and she was just stressed about it for about 3 months, and I was trying to just kind of let things go, and to the point where I was like, okay, we're gonna have to get back on board. So I try to pay attention to what people have going on in their life, and just remind them while we're all here together, working together. And I have learned. So I'm managing 2 stores, which means I can't be at the store every day. And of course, I'm in this class on Thursdays and the other class on Wednesdays now. But I've learned that my staff needs me to be in each store 2 days a week. If I'm not there 2 days a week, I start hearing them say, which is really a good thing. Like they're asking me, Stacy, when are you going to come work with me? Um, and and I offered to hire or increase the hours of other employees, but no, they want me to come work with them. So that's a plus. But I do learn that if I schedule myself there twice a week and then here twice a week, then it kind of keeps everybody's, it just keeps them happier.
Mhm.
It keeps their, I'm trying to think of the word, but I can't. Morale. It boosts the morale. Yes, that's the one.
What I heard is Stacy's available 1 day a week. So, take advantage. Yeah.
In the pool.
Yeah. Preemptive strikes, when I think about it, create a culture that's conducive to unity. Do all you can in the forefront to avoid the disruptions, the things that can happen with a team. Build your team so they can handle the stress. But having said that, we do that. I got a phone call a couple months ago. Tim, they're fighting, physically fighting. I said, oh no, who? And it was an employee and his girlfriend, and they were outside. It wasn't even another employee. It was one of the team members, his girlfriend. You're talking about stressing me out. Now, this girl stresses everybody out. But they're not together anymore, if you want to know that part. But
I was dying to know.
yeah. But then we had to manage that, and all I could tell her was try to stop it and try to, get everybody taken care of, and then we'll address it later. In other words, put the fire out for now, and we'll figure out the cause. But when there is a fire, what I always tell people is help with your hands, not your mouth. When people are behind in a stressful situation, they need physical help. They need somebody to dig them out of the hole. Last thing they need is somebody barking at them. Like we had this one manager, we had a screen full. We just opened up a new location, and the screen was full of orders, and they're all visible. Everybody has a screen where they're at, and she starts reading off every order as loud as she can because we're backed up. I'm like, wait, everybody can see it. We don't need to hear it again. I said, find something to do with your hands, like physically take a load off of somebody, flip some burgers, do something physically that helps. So when there's a fire, we need water, not heat. And words are so often heat. So I said, just try to, don't worry about winning an argument. Just trying to ease the situation of solving the problem by getting things done.
You took my answer.
I saw it on his face.
You took my answer. I mean, this isn't in my formative years when I just started at Rough Country. Our CEO at that time, Ken Dunn, we had a large federal mogul order. It was so large it took 3 tractor trailers to ship that full load of stabilizers and shock absorbers out. Now, our part of that is we had to press in bar pins, bushings, and set them up for each automotive use, right? So this order had to be out by 4 p.m. There was 3 of us working on it. And our CEO came out of his office, rolled up his white button-up shirt, and got in the foxhole with us, right? That's the big part. Typically, when you've got employees that are high stress, and we have high stress, Alan's nodding. I'll say that for the camera. We make a promise in our company that any order made before 4 p.m. ships that day. That's what we're going to do. So there's stress every day. And typically when team members are making some noise, they're unhappy, they're stressed, it's not that they're upset with what they're doing or who they're working with, it's that they feel like they're failing. So when you get involved and you help them find a solution, when you help them meet their quota, when you help them reach their goal by putting in your effort, the stress is reduced immediately, simply because they see you're in there with them. You've got a shovel, you're digging, you're helping, and you can see the other problems. It also gives you a great opportunity to communicate with those team members and say, hey, when we get through this, let's talk about how we keep this from happening again. How do we eliminate this problem from popping up again? It's a great feedback mechanism. It's a great engagement tool. But he nailed it. Help with your hands, not your mouth. Actions speak louder than words.
I'd say that's one of the things that I've learned the most is in the beginning, when you'd hire people, it's like you get frustrated. It's like, man, why can't they get this done? I know they know how to do it, and it just gets so frustrated and get frustrated with them. And now I've just grown incredibly patient. I might be a little bit frustrated on the inside, but really the worst thing you can do is be mean to people that are helping you, support this community with your business. And so, I've just learned to be more patient. What you said, so instead of, saying, hey, where we're at and, let's get going, get in there and help people. So anybody that's managing a team, help them. I don't know. Do you guys know who Michael Durock is? He was the CEO of Devileye, which was the mustard company that was here and the mustard company store. So he owns 18 plants around the world. And if you saw him, he's just a regular guy. He's not like some big fancy CEO, although he's a very successful CEO. I did some consulting work out there with them, and I was so impressed with his leadership. I would see him walking from the parking lot carrying toilet paper or carrying supplies for the break room, coming in there, putting the supplies in because they had such a stressed out. I mean, the team was stressed. It was a startup here. And so people were just trying to get so many things done. He's like, well, he didn't say it. He just did it. I just see him, climbing the stairs, stocking the break room. And I'm like, man, this guy is the CEO of 18 multi-million-dollar plants around the world. So that's one of the best examples I believe I've ever seen. And you said Ken was the same way. So yeah, just being a leader like that. So
Thank you. I can attest to the fact that Chris is very patient. That's all the questions I have for right now. I wanted to see if y'all had any questions for them.
That is a challenge, a repetitive one. And again, all I can tell you is that when I have a team member in front of me, they're priority, always and forever. Because if they've came in off their shift or if they've came in early to try to catch me, it's something very important to them. And I want to listen. I want to give them that time. And that's always going to be my priority. Does it put me behind? Yes, absolutely. That's okay. Because if I can help them through that moment, then I've won a friend for life, right? So to me, that has more value than my task list. My team members are always going to be priority. And unfortunately, sometimes that's over myself and my family, but it's short term, right? I'm trying to make sure that I take care of them because it's a relationship. I've told my daughter this 100 times over. My daughter is very smart. Let me rephrase. She's very intelligent. She's very gifted, athletically, musically, and you can have all those things. You can go to the greatest institutions. You can learn from the greatest teachers. But if you can't work with people, you will not succeed. Or you may succeed, but it's going to be marginal. So for me, even with that fire coming in, that takes priority because I want to help the person that's standing in front of me. And I can get to this other stuff later.
Great. Any more questions? Okay. Thank y'all all so much for coming.